And the race for the Republican presidential nominee is all but over after Trump's landslide win in Indiana. Trump's victory yesterday also marked the end of the road for Ted Cruz. One America's Cramer again examines the exit polls to show us where Cruz went wrong in the final moments of his campaign.
Ted Cruz is a notorious history buff, seemingly able to quote the Bill of Rights at will.
That same phrase, the right of the people, is found in the First Amendment. The right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition their government for redress of grievances. It's also found in the Fourth Amendment.
So it's only fitting to describe Cruz's last stand in Indiana in a historical sense. The state became his Waterloo. And like Napoleon had an exile in St. Helena to re-examine his defeat, the Cruz campaign is likely doing the same. Wisconsin, Cruz's biggest victory, also marked the beginning of the end for the Texas senator. He won the Badger State on April 5th, but just 2 weeks later, Cruz would be haunted by comments he made previously in election season.
I think most people know exactly what New York values are.
The decision to invoke Donald Trump's New York values ahead of the South Carolina primary was a calculated one, as the tactic was previously used by Cruz's campaign manager to win a smaller race against a rival from San Francisco. But the strategic decision meant Cruz would likely lose New York, something that was a near certainty to begin with, given the fact it was Trump's home state. The problem was that Trump didn't just win New York. He crushed the competition, getting 60% of the statewide vote and upwards of 80% in some regions. Suddenly, the notion the Cruz camp had floated, that Trump had a ceiling below the majority,
Donald has a hard ceiling of 35 to 40%,
was shattered. Already a long shot to win the nomination outright, Cruz's strategy pivoted to winning at a contested convention, something he was against earlier in election season.
These visions of a brokered convention are the fevered fantasies of the Washington establishment.
1 week after New York, Trump ran the table in the Northeast, securing wins in 5 states with a margin of victory of at least 30 points in each. His percentage totals were above 50% in every state. By then, Trump's momentum and delegate lead were secure, and the public started changing their perception of Cruz and a contested convention. The timing couldn't have been worse for the senator, who was gearing up for one last stand in Indiana. In the days leading up to the primary, he reached an agreement with John Kasich, where the Ohio governor would essentially cede the state to Cruz, allowing a one-on-one matchup against Trump. Cruz then garnered the endorsement of Indiana Governor Mike Pence, after previously netting the support of Jeb Bush, Lindsey Graham, and other former 2016 contenders. Suddenly, Cruz, who at one time touted his anti-establishment roots, was the favorite of the establishment. Then, in basketball-crazed Indiana, birthplace of Hall of Famer Larry Bird, Cruz said this when trying to recreate a scene from the iconic Hoops film Hoosiers.
The amazing thing is that basketball ring.
The unforced error drew widespread mockery. Everyone from late-night hosts,
that basketball ring.
You got to keep bouncing that leather balloon down the wood room,
to the president,
and called the hoop a basketball ring,
chimed in. It didn't help matters that Trump secured the endorsement of the state's biggest basketball icon, Bobby Knight. State polls that once favored the senator by 16 points, or at worst had him in a close race against Trump, now showed the billionaire as a double-digit favorite. With a twist of fate like that, you couldn't fault the Cruz camp for wanting to take a page out of Knight's book in 1985. But instead of tossing chairs, in a last-ditch move, Cruz employed the unorthodox strategy of naming Carly Fiorina his running mate before the convention, a move that had only been done once before, unsuccessfully, by Ronald Reagan in 1976. On Tuesday, ultimately Cruz's final day as a candidate, he used the same strategy Marco Rubio did during his campaign's closing moments, attacking Trump in a war of words.
This man is a pathological liar.
Ultimately, Cruz would meet the same fate as Rubio. The numbers don't lie. Statewide, Trump won 87 of Indiana's 92 counties, securing more votes than Cruz and Kasich combined. The exit poll data examined all of Cruz's choices and provide the data behind his dismal showing in Indiana. The hard facts: 59% of Indiana Republicans say they want the next president to be a political outsider, while another 58% disapproved of the Cruz-Kasich partnership. Additionally, 67% of voters were against the idea of a brokered convention. Lastly, only 18% of voters said the selection of Carly Fiorina would make them more likely to vote for Cruz. It may be a coincidence, but at 45 years old, Ted Cruz is roughly the same age Napoleon was when he was exiled to St. Helena. Perhaps it's a coincidence once more that the state has a small town that sided with Trump. Its name? What else? Waterloo. Cramer, One America News.